Okay, Mr. Matt Green, welcome to the Refinery Studio. Good to see you, man.
Yeah, good to be here. Thanks for having me in.
You're finally here.
Yep.
We've been here virtually many times.
Yeah.
You probably recognize the room from the background.
Yep, I've seen it 100 times probably.
Yeah, probably so. Well, it's good to see you here in person. Thanks for making the trip up.
Cool. Yeah.
Appreciate that very much. And I'm really looking forward to the conversation, as I do every conversation with you. And I like the way you think. And I like what you do, and I'm glad
I've had some law enforcement people say otherwise.
Well,
I'm just kidding.
Yeah. No, I appreciate you, and I appreciate, you're helping me in my business as well, working as keeping my books and taxes and all that, and that's good. And we'll talk about that. We want to talk about some business and finance stuff and your approach and what you do and kind of your background in that. But I got to talk about this first because you surprised the mess out of me the other day. You sent me a link, and I knew that you had this music background, but I never heard your music. And you sent me this Spotify link, and I'm listening to this dude sing, and I'm like, this guy's killing it, man. This guy's got a great voice. And I'm like, this music is good too. I never heard this before, and then I'm like, wait a minute. Was that you singing on there?
If you want to call it singing, yes.
I
did everything, but
listen, it's sometimes, okay, look, people might look at me and go, you got a congregational voice. Like, they might hear me sing and that's pretty good when the rest of the church is singing along because it kind of drowned you out. But yeah, I guess I could put it together if I was really thinking about it, but I'm serious, man. You got a great singing voice. And,
yeah, I've never really heard that so much. I was really good at drums at one point. I mean, just being honest.
that thing you sent me was, you did like the entire thing.
Yeah,
I produced
everything.
it.
My friend mixed it and mastered it. I played all those instruments.
You did everything in there.
But perception is reality. It's not that I'm a vocalist. I just master of a vocal comp. There's probably lines you hear.
Yeah.
And there's probably words that are me singing it 3 different times put together.
Just to get it there.
Yep. I would just go and just loop.
Ken knows all about that. He is a master at mastering, and he is probably the best sound guy out there. And I'm thankful to have him in the studio. But listen, to me, I'm the untrained ear. It's so funny because I'll be with Ken and he'll be like complaining about a noise, and I'm like, I have no idea, but I know when he hears it, it's there and he picks it up. I remember one time we were in here and I was showing him the mixer thing, and he goes, the mixer itself is making a noise in the background of this. So we jumped on Amazon and got a new mixer right away. Yeah. I'd have never picked that up, but I did pick up that you put together something that's pretty good. Anyway, I know we're not here. I know you weren't expecting me to talk about music, but
it usually comes up. So
but yeah, it's cool. And I've got some other music people. I'm not a music guy. Like I'm kind of a nerd about music, meaning nerd not in the good sense. Today, like nerd is a really good complimentary word. It means
but not when we were younger.
No, when we grew up, the nerd was, yeah. Like I never had like a style of music that I latched onto. Once upon a time, I really loved country music, but I can't really stand it right now.
That's like the one genre I just can't grasp.
It's rough.
But I worked at the Wild Horse Saloon in Nashville. And I saw everybody.
You saw it all. Like I can appreciate when someone's live, because we were in Nashville and this guy was singing and he, like, it was any song he could do. I appreciated that and I enjoyed that experience. But to tune into the station, I'm probably like ticking a lot of people off right now, but I can't do it, man.
Yeah, it happens.
I can't do it. But
yeah, Nashville's weird. Everybody, I mean, I lived there for 6 years.
Yeah.
It's where I met my wife. I went to school for audio engineering, so I understand
the
whole everything you hear is going. Everything it goes through has an impact on the sound. But anyway, everybody there can sing. I remember I was just out running around with a group of people from work, and there was a girl there. I didn't even know she sang at all.
Yeah.
And she just randomly gets up at this karaoke and sings I Have Nothing by Whitney Houston.
And belts it out.
And I was like, what in the world?
Yeah.
I mean, it's like unbelievable.
Yeah. I've heard that. I have definitely heard that. And it's like, you can get lost in that because you go there as a local superstar and then everybody's a superstar. And I heard it's tough.
Yeah. And another girl we worked with, she got dogged pretty bad on American Idol one time. She's one of the people that they showed
Ouch.
Getting made fun of.
That hurts a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's life.
Yeah, it is life. Well, speaking of life, man, you got some life going on with your shoulder there. What's happening there?
Surgery. Apparently there was a 90 to 95% tear in my rotator cuff, some bone spurs. They shaved off part of my bone.
Yeah.
To make room apparently where the stuff moves.
Oh my goodness.
But I did it lifting weights. I was getting fairly ripped with a hint of being swole, but that came to an abrupt end all of a sudden one day in my garage.
It happens, man.
So here I am.
It happens, man. We had to kind of make a delay because of this, right? We were scheduled, and then they called you in to get that taken care of. So hopefully the healing's going well. You got your physical therapy going now.
Yeah, my third physical therapy was today. Yeah, the day we were going to do it, now I'm just down to like 1 or 2 pain pills now, but then I was taking like 5 at a time.
Yeah.
So, I'm just kidding.
So if you're not lucid, we know why.
No, I'm off them now. I'm good.
Okay.
I just had a couple leave here and there.
Well, that's good.
Yeah.
Well, I think in your next life, it's music and stand-up comedy is what it needs to be.
Maybe. We'll see.
Well, good to see you. So how did you, so talk about your story a little bit, like what, you can talk about music or whatever, but cause you've got kind of a cool story, as far as like your sports background and, you came up through doing a lot of sports and then somehow you ended up doing accounting stuff, but in between there was a lot of stuff happening. So talk about that.
Well, yeah, baseball was my thing growing up, but about 10th grade, I realized that wasn't going to happen. Coming out of high school, I knew exactly what I wanted to do. Me and a guy were going to start a band. There was no like gray area. We're starting a band. We're going to be rock stars. The end. We went for it pretty hard. And by the time I was about 23, I just thought I wanted to still do music, but do it a little more professionally.
Right.
Not so much just, I was very diligent, but, maybe the other people weren't as.
Yeah.
So I just decided I'd still into music. So I came up with the plan. I'm going to go back, take 2 more years of drum lessons, 2 years of piano lessons, move to Nashville, go to school for auto engineering. It was a 9-month trade school.
Yep.
And I knew the ETA of that was going to be like March of 2003. And I did all that. I moved there. I did very well in the school. Mm-hmm. I could have gone that route. I did work on the production team a couple of times at the Wild Horse Saloon, and I had a gig where this guy people would send him lyrics, and he could turn them into full productions. Like by himself. Yeah. He would do everything.
Yeah.
And so I helped do some engineering for that, went back and did like rough mixes, added drum loops, stuff like that. But met my wife, and basically it just wasn't a very healthy environment. She had 2 little kids. They're both bigger than me now. I mean, they were 5 and 7 at the time. Mm-hmm. And then we had a daughter in 2008. So the short version is I moved to Nashville with 0 kids in 2003, moved back to Greenville with 3 in 2009.
Okay.
And I did put the album out along the way in 2008. Yep. It's kind of my last hurrah. But truthfully, I always was entrepreneurial. I was going to start this kid song business. That's a long story, but I just didn't know if I could scale it, and I had enough kids of my own to deal with. I didn't want to be intertwined with other people's, to be honest. But so I was like, well, music is like the most unstructured career path. Accounting is the most structured career path. Yeah. And me and my wife were on the back deck, just like, what are we going to do? It's been hard financially for a long time. And I was actually I had a job that was more like not slave labor type work where I worked. Yeah. But forklift jobs paid more. And I had my forklift license. I kept putting in for the job and never got it. Yeah. Which kind of sparked the conversation. It's like, what are we going to do? It paid like, back then it was with the incentive bonus and everything, it's about $5 or $6 an hour more, which was a lot of money to us. And I just was standing there. I was like, I'll just go back to school and be an accountant. And I just said it. Maybe it sloshed around in my brain a couple times. And she's like, okay. And that was like May of 2012. By August, I started classes.
Did you have what led from forklift to accounting? Like, how did you make that? Did you know an accountant or?
They had tuition reimbursement at my job. So that I always knew that. And actually my lab partner for audio engineering in Nashville, he kind of reversed. He was an accountant for 9 years. And I was like, man, that's pretty impressive to say, people think you're smart if you're an accountant. Right. And he used that, it was good for him. He actually wound up being the head instructor at the school, but that's another story. But I always thought that like I said, I always liked small business. I always liked working with businesses. I always wanted to own a business. So I was like, well, then I'd just be working with a lot of business owners. So that's cool.
Okay.
And so I did it August 2012. I went back to school, started at Greenville Tech, transferred to Liberty, finished my bachelor's. It took me about 4 years and 4 months. The last 8 months that I was getting my bachelor's, I did have an accounting job. It sold to a little bit bigger firm. And then I immediately went into the MBA program. I stretched that out for about 3 years. So all in all, I took about 56 college classes, became an IRS enrolled agent, and August 2020 started this company.
So were you doing Liberty stuff remotely, or were you?
I have never been to the state of Virginia.
Okay.
So yes.
Okay.
And that was one of the selling points. Greenville, when I was at Greenville Tech, I did have to go and take some tests on campus and stuff like that, but it was 100% remote.
Okay.
Which was good because I had a whole bunch of kids and a job. And so, yeah, I worked full time the whole time. You know, they're all older now. My daughter's almost 17 and the other two, they're off on their own, but it was really hard.
Yeah.
I'm actually only 25. I just look really, really bad.
But your first year out in 2020, you just killed it, right? You instantly made tons and tons of money, right?
Yeah, I would say at least like $20.
Yeah.
So I was rolling. But no, I made hardly any money. I was really kind of up and running, like had my software, had my website, probably like the very end of October. And I immediately was networking everywhere, doing all that. And I did gain a couple of clients, but it was really the tax season that I started to really grow and start getting some momentum there. And we were doubling every year since then, but this year we kind of took a step back and kind of trained some people. I mean, you know that better than anyone working on processes.
Yeah. Well, you've grown your team for sure because you needed to grow your team. And so, you're taking on all these new expenses that you didn't have before, right?
Exactly. Yeah. That's the thing. Like you hire people and they do most of the work, or now they're doing almost all of it. But then there's that real bad part that you got to pay them.
Yeah.
And
you have to pay them off. They want to get paid all the time.
Yeah. Every 2 weeks they want their paycheck coming in, so that's the challenge.
Yeah. But you got a good team now. I like working with your team. Thanks. And I actually was just going back and forth with one of your team members yesterday, and I said, "Hey, why don't you just do this part for me?" He's like, I could do that. Give me the thing I need. I said, you got access to my QuickBooks, right? Why don't you just take care of this? So that was nice. It was good. He was on the spot, man. It was good. Helped me out a lot.
Hopefully that kind of stuff happens a lot without me hearing about it.
Yeah. Let's talk about the journey of your business growth a little bit, because you definitely were just bootstrapping it. You went out and, you went from a conversation on the back porch, sitting on the deck, to, just something coming out of your mouth. And now all of a sudden you got a business and you're growing it. And you and I have been having conversations for a couple of years now. And, you're always thinking bigger about everything that's going on. And it's been fun to watch you realize that, it's a progressive thing. It's like, you're leveling up each year. So what do you think, like in that process of going from, hey, I think I could be an accountant, let me go get the training, now I'm in it. What are some steps that you've made that you could say these things definitely were important for me to be able to grow?
I would say creating core values in the beginning and sticking to them the best I can. One of those is transparency. I think there's a big deficiency in the accounting world of communication, people getting ghosted by their accountant, or it's a real problem. I mean, we get clients all the time because of that. They're like, I called them for 3 months, emailed them. So I think communication, being transparent, I think doing a good job when you're given the opportunity to do a good job and leveraging that for other referrals, networking. Don't try to sell people. Don't be that person that's showing up at a networking event asking everybody to send group text to people,
Yep.
So just building real relationships and getting to know people. Don't try to sell them. I guess I joke about perception being reality, but there's ways to, give kind of image of success, even if it's not reality. I tell this story a lot. I had like a 1-to-1 lunch with a guy one time when I was first getting going.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, I'll buy the lunch. I got it. And I think that lunch was more than half of what I had in my bank account.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I would have never told him that. But,
Right.
It's not me bragging or saying I'm rich, but it's like, he's probably thinking, oh, he can just buy my lunch.
Yeah.
But now I'm broke and now I'm going to have to like figure some kind of crime, money laundering or something out. But
yeah,
it worked out later on. But actually, that's kind of isolated example, but I did a lot of work because he worked for an HVAC company.
Yeah.
And they were selling several months later. And it was at a time when we were slow and I like really needed work. And I went up doing a huge project.
Mm-hmm.
And it probably stemmed from that. But I think just being yourself, which I'm probably too guilty of at times, but I think I've made an art out of it. I think that helps. And just being authentic. Don't try to sell people. I'm not trying to get money out of somebody.
Yeah.
I'm going to let you know what we do, how much we charge.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to do the best we can.
Yeah.
If it's not satisfactory, we're going to try to fix it. I think it's probably that simple.
I know you've also made yourself very visible. In what do you think you've done on purpose, just in terms of making yourself visible, networking, putting yourself out there? What are some of the steps that you've taken to do that on purpose?
I think an online presence is very important. One of those, when I say I moved to Nashville with 0 kids and came back with 3,
mm-hmm.
luckily enough, one of those owns a very successful marketing company now, and his now wife is a graphic designer, and his sister-in-law does social media. She actually has a degree from Georgia with a concentration in social media. So that was very helpful because basically that was my only clients in the beginning. I did their stuff. They do mine. I make sure that's always top tier. I try to get as many Google reviews as possible, reply to all of them. I think your LinkedIn profile is important. Having a professional headshot, making it look good, having metrics in your bio, stuff like that.
Yeah.
And just, I crack jokes. I go to networking events. People think I'm a wacko, but if they really knew how calculated I am, they probably wouldn't like me because it's all part of my process.
Right. Well, and I think I like that word process, because I think what you've done with your stepson and his wife and her sister, you have created a process. Like, they've given you a pretty systematic approach to making you visible in the digital sense, and then giving sort of a buyer's journey, making a way for people to get to you and to see you faster and sooner. When the SEO parts of that, and then just taking advantage of where leads are coming from, and kind of directing those. I think that they've done a good job for you with that, right?
Definitely.
And there is something you just said, and one day you and I were talking, and you completely shocked me. I had no idea, like, what a LinkedIn guru you are. Like, when I say guru, like, you really need to be teaching. We need to be in the other room doing a LinkedIn seminar. So, like, what have you done? What did you do?
I ask people questions that know what they're doing.
Okay.
Same friend, the guy that I was a lab partner with in Nashville.
Yeah.
He actually at one point had a huge job for a big security company. He lived in the San Francisco area, and we just always talked about self-branding. He's all about that. And I get a lot of input from him. I used to I have a co-working space. Like, one of the people there was called LinkedIn Lindsay. She's a consultant. So I picked her brain a few times. Ask a lot of questions. I look at people's profile, watch videos, chat GPT, I'm always tweaking it. I literally, for a while, I would work on it almost every day, just changing wording or changing this or that. So,
and you've really put a pretty hyper focus on LinkedIn for that too, right? You've kind of specialized in that. You kind of picked one platform to go deep in, right?
Pretty much, because I have one Facebook friend. I don't really do Facebook.
Yeah.
But I would like to get more active on LinkedIn. I do well at times. I try to post at least once or twice a week. I would like to more like once a day, comment, stuff like that. Yeah, I feel like that's the one place where people can kind of go if they want to take the time to get to know you. So you got to kind of put it there. I mean, there's links to my songs on YouTube, and kind of lays out who I am. you can let that do it for you. Like,
Yeah.
hey, somebody says, here's Matt Green. He does my taxes. He could probably, maybe you want to talk to him. Like, okay, who the heck is this guy? They can know all they want to know before I even meet them.
Yeah. So how many people on LinkedIn are you connected with, and what have you done to connect with the high number of people?
Probably almost 16,000, but a lot of it's spam. A lot of it just has to do with what I'm thinking about at the time. Because I remember when I was still working for the CPA firm, there was a person that left a couple of years before me, and she just does like bookkeeping and accounting. And she kept asking me, like, can you do my client's taxes? I'm like, I can't because I work here. That's not cool. But I started thinking, how many people are out there calling themselves bookkeepers? Or not saying, my first boss would always yell at me and say, are you a bookkeeper and accountant? So I kind of like, I want to be an accountant, not a bookkeeper.
Right.
But I'm not trying not to say that bad. But she doesn't do tax. But I started thinking, well, how many people out there that are bookkeepers that don't do tax? That's a real dilemma.
Right.
And it helps them to be able to offer that somewhat to people. So I started connecting. I'm probably connected to 500 people that are freelance bookkeepers on LinkedIn. And at one point I was messaging them, probably almost all of them. And it worked. I've gotten clients in Washington State, Texas, Ohio, California, Florida, from just networking with bookkeepers that are just, through networking, send them spam. Half of them don't pay attention.
Yeah.
Have a Zoom call with another half of those, and maybe 1 out of 10 works out. But then
But you say spam, but you're actually doing a lot of that organically, aren't you? Like when you say you're doing stuff at night, like you're reaching out to people like directly.
Yes, and a connection requests, but I don't hit them with the sales blast or anything like that. I've actually had paid lead generation for a brief period of time. And I've done it on my own with some software, but it's not like, hey, thanks for connecting. Do you want to buy blah, blah, blah? Here's my calendar.
Yeah.
I've never done it that way. So much.
Good. I'm glad to hear that. I had an experience the other day where 2 people connected with me at the same time, and simultaneously I got exactly the same message from both of them. And the next day I got exactly the same other message from both of them at the same time. So they were clearly using the same bot system to do that reach out in the funnel and all that.
They might not be real people, or maybe they're real people that aren't at all really doing that someone's using.
Yeah, very much so. So I thought it, I get plenty, almost everything I get is clearly bot generated or AI generated, but I thought it was kind of interesting that both of those happened simultaneously. So
yeah, that's happened to me recently too.
Yeah, I think it happens to everybody. But I think that what I'm really emphasizing here is that you've got a lot of connections, and that you're saying it's just spam, but it's not really. I mean, it's kind of, again, like people don't really realize how calculated and behind it and what you're really doing. And you've put a lot of sweat equity into connecting with people, and it has paid off in clients and clients who bring you clients. That's been helpful, I'm sure. What, in terms of if we just think about other like non-marketing business processes and the things that you've paid a lot of attention to improve and get better in your business, to make your business operate better, what are some of those things that you've paid a lot of attention to as you've grown?
One thing we did really badly and that we fixed now was, and you were obviously there to watch it all, I hired a couple of people that had zero experience. They just graduated college, back June 23. And my one person that's now with me almost 3 years, at the time had 1.5 years, and she's great, but I may have dumped stuff on her a little too, here's these 2 people, teach them everything. That probably was not a good idea.
Yeah.
That turned out very badly because they did the accounting, but there was 0 people to do tax, and we wound up getting buried. Like that was not, we had to fix a lot of things from about June 23, probably through tax season this year. We have completely redone everything. And I would say it really comes down to just simple things. I tried different workflow. I tried to stick with the one that wasn't working for too long because I didn't want to be one of those people that keeps changing everything, even though it wasn't working.
Yeah.
and we were buried in taxes. And I was like, we got to fix this. You know, my wife's yelling at me. I was like, I know it's got to get fixed. I'm doing as many tax returns as I can right now. That's all I can do.
Mm-hmm.
I know it's got to get fixed.
Yeah.
So we just simplified, like, do this, then do that. And everybody has a script and a process for anything that's repetitive,
Mm-hmm.
and it's tracked. We just use Google Sheets. I don't use, you know, some high tech workflow software. Maybe we do that one day, but right now everybody has a task for like their monthly stuff. They have a task for other projects. It's got a date is created or assigned, a date is due, and some notes. And then we use Telegram to communicate throughout the day. Before the hours are really loose, like the core hours. In my mind, I'm thinking, hey, I'm going to make like the greatest place to work ever.
Right.
These people just have to work these 3 hours, these 4 days, and just get their 40 hours elsewhere. Well, that did not work.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just facts.
Yeah.
So now it's very structured. Like we're all working at the same time.
Yep.
It's a lot of simple things that have changed everything. I really think 2025 will be in a position to turn into something totally different than we've ever been. I knew it'd be me flying by the seat of my pants.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of circled 2024 as the year we turn into a real company, and 2025 is kind of when we're going to start getting there.
Yeah. Well, you can see it in your processes now. I would say as a spectator, one other area that I think your onboarding process is like really taking a big leap forward, and the way that you bring people in once they find you, that's really pretty stellar now, and really done a huge job there. You kind of went from the concept that you could have some people that could do something on the side and, you know, they could do pretty well, to this is your team, and they see them, so they're a part of this team. This isn't a second thing for them, or, you know, they're not moonlighting doing this. They're all in on the business and their structure for when and how and where you meet. And like you said, you're all working the same hours, and while you're not always in the same location, you're on the same pace, right?
Right.
Yeah.
And I've just invested a lot of time in them. We have 2 4-hour in-person meetings a month to train, and then I have 2 30-minute one-on-one meetings with them via Zoom every week. So it's like continuous, and I put a lot of time into planning those meetings.
Yeah.
Like this year, for instance, we're now reaching out to everyone about like 1099s.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Last year it was like mid-January, late January, and it's just chaos, and like, okay, I guess we got to figure out how to get all these 1099s, and nobody knew how to do them but me.
Yeah.
And so a lot of times it's like way better just to teach them, or not teach them, and do it myself, which was the worst.
Yeah.
So now we're on it. We're already reaching out to people. We've probably reached out to you like, hey, it looks like we're going to have to file a 1099 for these people.
Mm-hmm.
We have this information for this person. Would you like us to reach out to this other person?
Yep. Yeah.
So that's going to be like done before January hits. It's not like a big scramble. We were like way ahead. It's totally different now.
It's expeditious just to do it yourself, but you know that keeps you on the hamster wheel, right? And then you've got these people in, and they're not up leveling, and you just stay in it. And you know, you kept your eye on the prize and stayed in the process until it converts to something where it's not just in your head and you burning the midnight oil. Now they get it, and then they build up their proficiencies in these tasks and processes, and what it takes to deliver on the work, right? Mm-hmm. And so it's worthwhile to, I talk a lot about order and movement. And, when we put movement before order, we create chaos, but we have to move. Our business isn't static. It's dynamic. It is always moving. So, but we have to be committed to putting more order in as we go. And I think that's what you've done. And you're in a business that can be feast or famine. It's like tax season. It's like being a farmer, right? When the farmer goes to harvest, then all of a sudden you get paid off for all the work you've been doing. Tax season can be that way. Now you're not only doing taxes, of course, you're doing books, which is more of a sustainable business model than just doing taxes. But, it's like what's been fun to watch is you go through everything you do to get kind of through the season till you have some cash, and then you keep going. But every year you've done that is, you've kind of ratcheted it up. And you're not just ratcheting up the money, you're ratcheting up, like you said, you're ratcheting up the processes. So
yeah, I think we're in a position to, we lost some monthly clients. We've added some, but that's something we're definitely gonna have to beef up. But the tax, it's almost like we have two businesses. The tax business is like growing through the roof.
mm-hmm.
The monthly accounting, tax planning, all that kind of stuff. It's growing, but it doesn't, not like the tax portion.
Yeah, not at the same rate.
Right.
Yeah.
But we do taxes all year long.
Mm-hmm.
It's like people don't realize I'm about to send 5 tax returns to someone today when I get home.
Yeah.
And it's, whatever, 7 days before Christmas or something.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, we do, like, that would be the next focus, is just beef up the monthly stuff and kind of really package that a more structured way. So yeah, like you say, I'm always thinking like, what's next? Like we need to do as many tax returns as possible. We need to do them accurately, but then we need to move into beefing up the monthly stuff. So,
yeah.
And 2025 should be good for that.
Yeah.
We're in a good place.
Okay. So just for your business and the development and the sort of advancement of your business, what are you pressing into right now? Like, what is one specific thing that you go, we're getting better at this right now?
Getting financial statements to people accurately, communicating. We're trying to employ structured, like checklists of what to do quarterly, annually, as far as like checking in with the client, and just staying on top of that. Like, we have deadlines. Like, if we don't have this from the client, then reach out on this date, and they've got an email template. I mean, it's all calculated. So I think we're doing that very well. And compared to where we were the middle of 2023, we're not even in the same universe. I mean, we were dropping the ball. I mean, we just got too big, too fast. I mean, not that we're making $100 million a year, but it was just me, 3 years ago. So, but now I think we're in a good place to really provide the information people need monthly to make financial decisions. And offer some advice. Like, everything doesn't have to come to me. My 2 full-time people, Al and Monica, they know how to answer all these questions 90% of the time. I always like blind copy them on all, if I ever have some, like a long email explaining something to someone about taxes, I always copy them so they can read that and, save that for later. So,
well, I think what's inevitably happening here is that the team that you have now, it took X amount of time to train them. But now you've not just trained them and kind of persisted and, kind of like gritted through it. You develop the processes by which the next people that you train, that's going to happen in much more quickly, much more succinctly. And for sure what and why and when and where you're training them. And so they'll be able to be up to speed on all of these things faster. And you have a way to do that.
Right.
Yeah.
It's not like, hey, we kind of do this sometimes. Sometimes we do it this way. It's like, we do this, then we do that, and then we do that.
Yeah.
And there's no gray area in any of that.
Yeah. That's awesome. Well, and I think that, again, what I hope is people will listen to this and just apply that to your own business, right? If you're not in the accounting business, that's fine. But the principle is universal. We all need to do that, and, we have to persist. We need to do that with understanding. We need to do that with intelligence. We need to do that in a way, like, if we're going to persist through a season and kind of get through, let's not get through, let's get better. Right. Let's get better. And so, because again, everybody wins when the business gets better. But let's talk about, you work with people that have kind of gone all in on a dream. They're working in one or more businesses that they own. Typically, I mean, almost all the people that you're working for are the business owners. They're, on that entrepreneurial journey. So, give them the whatever number, the 3 to 5 things. Like, what should someone like me be thinking about when I approach my bookkeeper, my accountant? What should I be keeping in mind so that I'm getting the most out of that service?
Really, if you have accounts that you do use just for business, that is like 90% of it. I actually taught a financial class Friday at a barber school, and that was kind of like G.I. Joe used to say, knowing is half the battle. If you have business accounts, whether it's a checking and a savings, a couple credit cards, or just one account, if you're using those just for business, you can get so much value of your accountant. And if you have it to where they have read-only access and they just pull the statements every month, they just do their job. They're going to have a handful of questions every month. That's it. And they're going to give you this. The easier it is for them, the quicker they're going to get you everything. Because, like anything, you have a hard day, hard things happen. They're like, oh, I'll just work on so-and-so's account because it's simple and easy. So it helps us, sense of urgency is contagious, I guess. And I think understanding the engagement you have with your accountant. If they're just doing bookkeeping, they're just doing bookkeeping.
Yeah.
If they're just doing your taxes and you show up with your taxes in March, that's all they're going to be able to do for you.
Right.
So it makes a lot more sense for everyone. If you have bookkeeping and you have taxes, just pay another small fee comparatively a month to just include everything.
Yeah.
To include the taxes, the planning, know that it's understood that we're going to be there to answer your questions all the time because you're paying for that. Otherwise, because I never want to have my business be where people are getting unexpected bills.
Right.
Because where I used to work, I got yelled at for that enough by people. They're like, I just got this bill, because the way most accounting firms work, all clients are in the system. Everybody that works there has got a billable rate. Every time that the person picks up the phone, is shooting an email or meeting with them in person or working on a project, they start a timer.
Yeah.
And whoever,
clock's ticking.
Yeah. Whoever's working on that times that billable rate, it winds up with somebody that sends the bill out, and it's like a bad Christmas present.
Yeah. But I also think when I'm listening to you, one of the things that I'm thinking here is that what you're describing is also great advice. It's the same concept when someone works with a marketing agency, meaning you got to know what it is that you're measuring when you work with the marketing agency, when you work with an accountant. Like, what are they doing for you? What are you trying to accomplish? And you also need to understand the output is really only as good as the input. And yes, of course, you're hiring someone who is a professional and an expert in whether it's the tax law or accounting practices. You need them to be able to do the right things with the numbers. But the point is, it's like you gave a great example. If I haven't developed the discipline to separate my personal and business finances, and I'm essentially creating an input mess of jumbled up, personal and business stuff that I'm handing off, well, guess what? That's what they have to work with.
Yeah.
And they may or may not understand that, when you went to Baskin Robbins, that wasn't a business expense, or whatever the case may be, that you have to get yourself in the right disciplines before you make that handoff. I think when people work with marketing companies and they can get really upset, they're like, oh, this isn't going well. Well, because, the stuff that they're going to put out there is only as good as you are as an originator. And the more you can get yourself in order, because I think we get sort of this fallacy, like, if I throw some money at this, everything's going to be better.
Right.
But you don't just throw money at it and make it better. What you do is you have to up-level yourself as a business owner to get more out of the other services that you use. Right.
Right. And my social media person, like, she does unbelievable what I give her, but I'm supposed to be providing her with, me being here or there with pictures and captions and whatever else. But she just, has to just work from scratch. So that could be a lot better if I did better. So
yeah.
That's exactly what it's like.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So what else? Okay. Let's think about just taxes themselves. What is the smartest thing that I can do as a business owner to be in the best position as far as taxes, to make sure that I am setting up my accountant to do the best work for me?
I would say check in during the year. Nobody's going to be able to fix anything. January 1st comes and the year is done. There's a lot of things that can be done. Investing in retirement, entity structure is probably the biggest thing. A lot of people may not realize they're paying self-employment tax. I would say just a quick 30-minute meeting once a year, and we could probably answer so many questions. And you just got to know what you can and cannot, write off as business expenses always do your cell phone, your internet, home office. Miles add up to 68 cents a mile this year, which doesn't sound like much, but that's a lot.
Yeah.
But really that expect to pay for that meeting. Like if I'm meeting with somebody for an hour, then I'm not working on something that I'm getting paid for.
Yeah.
So it's got to be fair. I don't want to nickel and dime bill people for everything. But just know that it is on you to reach out and be like, hey, can I come in?
Yeah.
And in our world, July is the deadest month. So that's really a good month to try to reach out. And it's halfway through the year.
Yeah. Yeah. So I mean, what I hear you saying is timing is important. Like be aware, like don't reach out in the 1st of April and expect immediate responsiveness and to be able to dig in on strategy. You're just getting through taxes then, right? Hit the right times, but also be ready to make an investment in your business. We talk about this concept of working on your business, not just in your business. And I think that is a really great step that people can take is like, look, I am going to plan for time with my accountant and I'm going to pay for that time because that time that I pay for is going to pay me back.
Right.
And it's going to make I mean, from a number standpoint, you could make whatever amount you pay for that time, you could make that back fast.
Really.
And especially in the amount of money you could be saving. Okay. So let me ask you this. Let's say someone has a business that is, let's say the business gross income is under the $500,000 a year mark. They're a 1 to 5 employee business. What do you think businesses like that get surprised by the most when it comes to bookkeeping and taxes? What is the thing that people go, oh, I didn't think about that?
One thing I've seen is when you run a business, you're trying to get as much money coming in with as little money going out as possible. And that sounds so stupid, but most people can only get half of that right.
Yeah.
So just because you brought in $500,000 doesn't mean you've profited anything. And cash does not equal taxable net income. I mean, if you go out, perfect example, let's say you decide you want to build a commercial like garage that you do cabinets or you do whatever,
okay.
and you put it on your yard.
Yeah.
It's still a commercial building. If you go and you get an $80,000 loan and you put $80,000 in that building and let's say you did that in like February.
Yeah.
And you're paying like $2,000 a month on the loan. You're not taking $80,000 as an expense, and you're also not taking away the $2,000 you're paying on the loan. That building, whenever it's completed, is going to get put into service for 39 years by the month, whatever that is. 39 times 2 plus 390 was it 478, 468 months by the month, depreciated evenly. So that $80,000 is going to get split over whatever that math is, 460. But anyway, so you're not all of a sudden like if you think I brought in 500,000, I paid out 400,000, I'm only paying taxes on $100,000. Well, no, you're probably about $100,000 off. And you could be going into other tax brackets. Maybe you didn't set up an LLC. If you had set up an LLC, you could retro back and be S Corp for the whole year. So if you factor all that in, you thought you're making 100,000, you're making 200,000. You're also paying 15.3% self-employment tax. So you're going to get hit with just that one example. You're probably going to get hit with about $40,000 to $50,000 in taxes more than you were expecting.
Yeah, and you've probably got $2,000 sitting in your bank account to just like make it through to the end of the month.
Yes, and I could have told somebody all that in 3 minutes on the phone.
Yeah.
So
that's good to know. I have conversations with people with some regularity, and I think one of the things that people tend to forget is like estimated quarterly taxes or making those payments throughout the year. Talk about that a little bit. Like how can someone manage that the best? And who needs to be managing that well?
Pretty much anyone this paid as self-employed person is supposed to be making estimated payments. And almost every tax preparer is going to send you your tax return, and there'll be like one page of instructions, and it's going to tell you what you should be paying based on everything being identical to the year they just prepared. So they'll have 4 vouchers.
Yeah.
And the thing about that is there's always the balancing act for us because we're going to send like a recap email.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to have the instructions of the tax return.
Right.
So there's a fine line between doing that and just dumping the whole thick tax code on them.
Mm-hmm.
And like, I would take the time to read that, but there are a lot of people that are, sharp enough or ahead of the game enough to say, hey, I think we're going to make like 100,000 more this year. Can you just bump the estimated payments? Then if it changes, they need to check in with us.
Right.
But generally, those penalties are usually not anything significant.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and they're really complicated because you're supposed to be paying April, June, September, January. So it's actually by the date. And there's the way the penalties calculated is really weird. But if you owe like $20,000, you might get hit with like a $300 penalty for not paying accurately throughout the year.
Yeah.
Maybe. And, like I say, it's complicated, but it's not the end of the world if you don't make those payments. But if you can make those payments, make those payments.
Yeah.
It's the quick answer.
Okay. What else? What other, and it could be maybe not directly answering the question I asked, but what should people be more aware of when it comes to their finances as a business owner?
Nothing is as simple as these people that want followers on TikTok try to make it sound.
Mm-hmm.
Don't watch TikTok and think, oh, I do this and I can save this. No two people's tax situation is the same like snowflakes. It's just that simple.
Mm-hmm.
There's so many factors. You could have a spouse that makes a lot of money and W-2 doesn't have nearly enough withheld, or they can make a little bit of money, have a lot withheld. You could take an early retirement out and get hit with a penalty. I mean, there's all kinds of factors.
Mm-hmm.
And one thing people see is, I would say the first thing, if I was to say anything, just make sure the business you do is actually going to not bring in money, but net money.
Mm-hmm.
Don't sell stuff on Amazon.
Mm-hmm.
Because I know that I have people, you can make $1 million, on Amazon. Yes, you can. I can tell you, I have a client that went from 0 to about 1.5 million a month in like 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
And he also loses about $300,000 a year.
Yeah.
Because Amazon is getting their money regardless.
Yeah.
So like I say, most money in, most money out. You got to think of both. You may have a business that's got high insurance. I mean, if you're a roofer or something like that, my insurance might be $4,000 a year. A roofer might be $5,000 a month.
Yeah.
So it's not as simple as, well, if I go to a roof and I make $15,000, it's cost $3,000 in labor, $3,000 in materials, I made $9,000. Maybe not,
Mm-hmm.
So that would be it. I would just say, before you even jump into your dream, do the actual math.
You got to know the whole picture.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. And, I love doing work with people around what I would call, the term I use is your vital focus, your mission, your purpose of your business. And it's like you mentioned, you getting clear on your core values was pivotal for you. It made, when your values are clear, decision-making gets easier, right? But I do a lot of work with people around their what I call their vital values. And what I always stress is, no matter what your vital value is, your vital focus, your purpose is to make a profit. It's easy to express the things that feel good about why we're in business. But if we don't have profit, we don't have a business. And that's why it's good. We got to have people like you that understand this better than we do, that they're the experts in this, that we don't need to have that expertise. We just need to know how to work with the people that have the expertise and, have high expectations of them, but have high expectations of ourselves and how we're growing. Of course we want to be able to not have to spend our own time, energy, and attention on these things. That's why we would pay somebody else for our time back. But, we have to do that in a way that causes us to elevate our understanding and our awareness of our business. And I think people that do that, I think if they can get good with the numbers on their business, they're going to get good with everything about their business.
Definitely.
Yeah. Okay. Well, what have we missed in this conversation that we need to, share with people, and what do we need to part with?
We're looking to add 700 new tax clients this tax season. So,
okay,
if you've got just a W-2, stick it in TurboTax. If you're got some multi-billion merger acquisition. We're probably not a good fit for that, but you've got rental properties, Schedule C business, escort partnership. We're probably the people you should call for that.
Yeah. You're not the cleanup crew. You're not somebody who, I didn't file my taxes for the last 3 years. Can you fix this for me?
We did our time on that.
You did your time. You put your time in.
Yes.
Yeah. You got a business. You need to make sure you're getting it taken care of. You're generally doing the things you need to, and you got to have this done right.
Right.
Okay. Well, we'll make sure when this goes out that people have a link to get to you for that exact purpose. I definitely recommend that people use your services, and I'm happy to be doing that. And I'm also thankful for your time spent here with me in the refinery today.
Awesome. Thanks for having me.
You bet.